Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Friday, November 15th, 3:45 p.m., and we are ending out a very exciting week in the global capital equity markets. And we're ending out in the next 15 minutes, and it looks like in the next 15 minutes, we are going to end out with a stock called Palantir, up potentially 10% on the day, up about 9.29% right now. Palantir did hit new all-time highs and 52-week highs today. That's kind of the story of the day in terms of what we're seeing, at least within Palantir. There's a lot of other conflicting narratives that we're going to be talking about in a second, but Palantir, very resilient throughout the entire day, up 9.4%. It does look like we are going to get that $64 close. Again, Palantir up because investors are now excited that it is eligible to be included into the QQQ ETF in the coming months. Rocket Lab as well, up 9.6%. Rocket Lab was down 7% yesterday after going up 28% the day before, 52% at one point. Rocket Lab's getting some love. SpaceX also raised about another couple $1 billion at a $250 billion funding round, so that's setting the TAM for Rocket Lab. But Rocket Lab and Palantir are two different stocks. Tesla's up 3% as well. Most of the market is down if you take a look at the Qs. The Qs are down. Qs are down about 3% of the day, 2.5%, 495 on the Qs. S&P 500 is also down about 1.42%, 584. S&P was 570 before Trump got all the way to 6,000, now back at 584. And then IWM is also down about 2%. So the narrative right now that we're seeing, along with Bitcoin, currently, where's Bitcoin? It was at 91,000 last time I checked. I think Bitcoin got Coinbase up 9% right now. Bitcoin is at 91,000, up 4%. Why is Bitcoin up? We'll talk about that in a second. But overall, the way this week is ending seems to be individual stocks that had catalysts, like a Rocket Lab when it comes to earnings, or like a Palantir when it comes to the NASDAQ stock exchange transfer from the NYSE, are doing good. Everything else is going to shit. And quite frankly, I think that's okay. SoFi as well, also holding up very nicely today at about 1350. Now, why is everything going to shit? Well, Jay Powell did not do a good job getting the market to feel that we would definitely get a rate cut going into December. Again, here are the probabilities for rate cuts into December. Now, basically at 60-40, it was 80-20 on Monday. Market's starting to catch up. And not really be that excited for the potential of a rate cut. You can see the 10-year right here, slightly up. At one point, it was 4.47. Right now at 4.435. And as a result, if the 10-year ticks higher, if the market thinks we're not going to get a rate cut, given that the market is priced for a rate cut, well, what's going to happen? You're going to have stocks that are going to come down. And the stocks that are going to come down the most are the stocks that I wouldn't say are the most expensive, but are definitely the ones that have done the best this year. I mean, can you really complain about the NASDAQ being down 3% after the NASDAQ was just at 515 2 days ago? Not really. So instead of being up 26% year to date, it's up 23% year to date. I think the word to describe all of this, Palantir right there, $65. We got 12 minutes left. Let's see if we can get a $65 close. I think the word to describe this in the context of the broader market is healthy. Healthy is the word. Why is healthy the word? Because at the end of the day, if we want a December rally, if we want market momentum, if we want things to make new all-time highs, it's really hard to get there when you just keep going up and up and up. And I think at some level, the people that wanted to take profits, that were like, you know what, I'm up, I need to secure, I need to actually say I have some, not paper profits, but real profits. Today, yesterday, they were taking those profits. And that's good because you've got opportunities then for other people who have not participated in this market rally that are probably coming in. And those people that are coming in, I think, are likely going to buy the dip. I think the only thing that stops the dip buying is if we don't get a rate cut, or if the perception of inflation continuing to reaccelerate makes it very hard for people to feel that there is upside momentum in a still relatively expensive market, even after the 3% decline today. And that's kind of the story of what we're looking at. We did see 65 this morning, correct? And we did ring the bell this morning when we saw 65. So a close above 65 would be pretty damn bullish if we can get there. I don't know if we close above 65, but 64.98 right here, up 9.8%. You might be wondering who the hell is buying Palantir. Again, we talked about it this morning. I think obviously there's retail investors that are getting into the name for the first time and they're buying Palantir, but also institutional ownership is up. At 53%, you can imagine some toots are probably getting in and saying, you know what, this thing is going to have a ton of the ETFs or funds start buying the ETF, which is the QQQ. If Palantir's in the QQQ, along with being in the S&P 500, you're going to get a lot more inflows. Therefore, the stock could go higher, even if the valuation is getting up there. So on Palantir Weekly tonight, we're going to discuss it in depth and kind of go through some of the events that happened this week. 11 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live on Palantir Weekly. But It does look like we're closing above 64 unless anything happens in the next 10 minutes, and maybe 65, which would be a plus 10% day on a day where the NASDAQ is red. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? Palantir is transferring to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's red, but Palantir, because they're transferring to the NASDAQ, is green. Kind of wild. Meta's down 4%. Microsoft's down 3%. Apple's down 2%. Google's down 2%. Amazon was under 200 at one point today. Amazon's down 4.2%. NVIDIA down 3.24%. Tesla, one of the only green names because Tesla got sold off yesterday pretty aggressively over that Trump 7,500 EV tax credit, is green. People are buying the dip up today for Tesla. So it's been a very, very kind of unique couple of days in the broader markets. We do have NVIDIA earnings next week. That's going to be really important. Let's get to the crypto news, which was also incredibly important. Gary Gensler, this is why Bitcoin's pumping right now. Fox News is reporting that he's going to resign. And we all kind of knew this yesterday. So he said, I quote, "It's been a great honor to serve with them, doing the people's work and ensuring that our capital markets remain the best in the world." That kind of sounds like a statement that you make when you're quitting or resigning or retiring. So it does look like Gensler's retiring. Fox News is saying he's definitely stepping down. He's not going to finish his term. He knows that Trump is likely going to replace him. And as a result, you've got Bitcoin that is starting to get that momentum. I think when he officially leaves, that's where Bitcoin also gets really exciting, because once Gensler is gone, and we're already seeing this with places like Robinhood relisting assets like Solana and XRP. By the way, Robinhood, we have some updates on Robinhood. Let me show you that in a second. It does feel more likely that Bitcoin will have more room to breathe. And if Bitcoin has more room to breathe, well, obviously the asset can do a lot better in that world. And that's why you're looking at Bitcoin right here at 91,000 currently right now. Chris URM says, "Is the removal of the tax credit good for Tesla, right?" I think so. Well, we watched that video this morning. I haven't watched it, and I think that video was done like a year and a half ago. But Elon Musk quite literally said he doesn't want any subsidies for oil and gas or EV companies. He kind of wants it to be a true competitive ecosystem where everyone has to fight for the end consumer. So Elon has zero problem. Like, when I mean zero problem, if you watch that clip from the morning, he has zero problem with getting rid of the $7,500 tax credit. The market was upset. But again, you know, Elon's usually thinking a little bit more long-term than the market. And people ended up buying the dip today and saying, you know what, it doesn't matter that much if Trump's getting rid of that tax credit. Now, for the end consumer, it might matter because, you know, you might have to pay a lot more for your Tesla. But for the long-term health of the company, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to Elon. Affirm is up 5%. You got Enphase. We thought it was kind of bottoming today at 59. It was up 5%. Now it's down 6%. Enphase right here, 59.69, down 6.11% of the day. Coinbase up 9%. SoFi doing very well today, up 2%. PayPal up 0.24%. Where is Hood? And then we'll get to some of the Hood updates. Hood is at 32.05, down about 0.5% on the day. Okay, so wow, Palantir 65.35. Holy crap. We might get that 65 close, folks. That is a busting right through 65. Look at that. 65.42. We might get that. We might get that 65 close. Goodness gracious, dude. 65. Palantir is now $1 billion away from a $150 billion market cap. It's pretty damn incredible. And Rocket Lab. Steve will be joining today as well. Yeah, Rocket Lab also getting up at 9% currently right now. Someone says, Amit, does the EV tax credit offset capital gains? Honestly, you're going to have to talk to your accountant. I'm not sure. There are some rules with that EV tax credit. You also have to be making a certain amount of income to qualify for the EV tax credit. So there are a bunch of different things you have to look at it, but maybe there's a shot it offsets capital gains potentially, but you got to talk to your accountant about it because they'll better understand the rules and regulations. Okay, quickly, this is what we saw from Robinhood. Steve Quirk, Chief Brokerage Officer, tweeted this today. A couple stats. Prediction markets can be a real source of info. Over 500 million election contracts were traded on Robinhood by 7 p.m. Eastern before any swing states were called. Contracts for Harris and Trump on our platform started to diverge, signaling a Trump victory. We also saw increased optimism around tech and crypto. In fact, Tesla had an after-hours trading volume of about 564 million. That's almost $1 billion just on Robinhood, with a flurry of activity seen on Robinhood before the stock had moved. With pretty incredible, we saw Robinhood traders deciding to start buying Tesla around that 250, 260 range when they thought Trump was going to be president. Palantir right here, 65.50. And then this stat, there was a bustling Robinhood crypto activity as Bitcoin's price surged to approximately 75,000 from 69,000. Trading volume peaked at $90 million at around 9:45 p.m. as Bitcoin started to go higher, proving that, overnight markets are very important. And obviously overnight markets can be very beneficial for a company like Robinhood that is capitalizing on that retail momentum. as they continue to innovate and bring new products into light. So good updates on Robinhood. Bitcoin continuing to do decently well. Robinhood consolidating in that 30 to 32 range, which I like. And overall, not bad. Robinhood right here, $32.22 might end up green. And there you go. Robinhood 32.24 is now currently green. Palantir's at 65.56. Let me check resistance for the next level. On Palantir, it's getting a 10 end of, people call power hour. This is like the power 10 minutes towards the end of the day. We are looking at 4,000 shares at the next resistance level, which is not that crazy. I don't know if we get there in 5 minutes, but it's not that crazy. 65.70 right here on Palantir. It does look like we can close above that 65 level. Traders are getting in now, up 11% on the day. Robinhood just turned green, 32.28. Bitcoin 91,400. Rocket Lab 9.76, and Tesla up 3% of the day. So Robinhood, Tesla, Rocket Lab, and Palantir are green. Everything else is red. HIMS is down another 7%. Enphase down 6%. SoFi and Coinbase also are green today. But the Qs, large cap tech really took a little bit of a beating today, and it's getting hit. But you see a little bit of a green candle on the Qs right there as well. Do we have a green candle on the S&P? Yeah, we got a green candle on the S&P. Look at that. Green candles across the board. Obviously, Palantir with the green candle last. Look at that. You guys see that, right? Green candles kind of across the board. HIMS and Enphase not getting a green candle, but SoFi a nice green candle. ETH, Coin, PayPal. And the indices is IWM getting a green candle as well, right at the end of the day. You got some people saying, all right, we're going to buy the dip going into next week, even if things are going higher. Riot's also up 4%. Yeah, let's look at the crypto stocks real quick. Riot is currently, look, all of them went green. BitX up 9%, WGMI up 3%, Robinhood up 0.23%, Bitfarm 6%, MicroStrategy 4%, Cypher up 3%, Iran up 3%, Riot is up 4%, CleanSpark is slightly up 0.21%, and then Coinbase is up 9.75% on the day. And again, all the Max 7s took a bit of a hit today. But you got some green candles. NVIDIA green candle, Amazon green candle, Google green candle, Meta still red, Microsoft green candle, Apple green candle. Kind of all at the same time, the algos are just buying up the market at the end of the day. One could argue today might have been a little bit of a bear trap. Some are arguing that the bulls are still getting too excited and we have a little bit more downside to go before we consolidate. Or it could be a bit of a trap for the bears. But I do think there's a little bit of a healthy pullback going on in the entire market. And that's fair. We've had a big couple weeks. 3% down is not that crazy at the end of the day. Disney is up 5%. Yeah, Disney is up 5% as well. Again, Disney, decent earnings. It was down 30% over the past 5 years. You would imagine any good numbers. What really kicked off Disney is that fiscal year 26 and 27 guidance. That's what did it for them. Them saying, hey, the next 2 years, we're pretty confident we're going to be good. Then the street was like, all right, if you guys really think you're going to be good over the next 2 years, especially when Bob Iger is gone, then we're willing to take a chance and buy the stock. And that's where you're seeing Disney right here was up 8% yesterday, up 5% today, up 13% for the week. Palantir 65.80 into the close. Got 2 minutes left. And see if it can continue to go down. Amit, any thoughts on Transmedics Groups? I like their moat. I don't know enough about the company, but I do think they have a moat. They're one of the only small caps that has a decent moat. But I don't know enough about them. But the 30% drawdown, at this point, it might be more than that since last time I checked, might make it an attractive opportunity. But a lot of people I know really like the stock as well. I just have to do a little bit more DD to see if there's something super exciting there. All right, here we go. 1 minute left. I think we're closing over 65, folks. Do we get that 66? Potentially. It might be a little tough to get there right at the end, up 11.24%. We've got 45 seconds. That happened. Oh, dude, it's like a race. It's actually trying to get there. It might actually try to get to 66. 65.93. Holy crap, dude. Talk about excitement. 40 seconds left. 5 cents away. 30 seconds left, dude. If it gets to 65.97. Oh, my God. No, this is crazy. Holy crap. Oh, 66. We hit 66. I'm going to ring the bell at the end. Oh my goodness. In the last 30 seconds, let's see if we actually get the close. We have 17 seconds left. Holy crap. Oh my goodness. This is actually crazy, dude. 5. We got 4 seconds. 3, 2. All right, everybody. The stock market is now closed. Stock markets closed. We did not close at 66. We closed at 65.81. But tell me that wasn't crazy, bro. Tell me that wasn't crazy, bro. That was actually crazy. Like, that was legit crazy. Someone just bought. Oh, no, we're 66 after hours. Look at that. We're 66.03 after hours, 66.05. I don't think it wants to stop, guys. Like, I mean, this is someone actually was buying. Last time I checked, there was like 5,000 shares at the wall. So someone busted through that. They bought those 5,000 shares. And now after hours, they're continuing to buy as we see it go up another 0.5% after hours. That was actually crazy. Like legit, when I started the stream, we were at 64. And I was like, I hope we close above 64. Then we got to 65. I was like, okay, you've got 2 minutes left. Looks like we're going to close above 65. And in the last 30 seconds, I guess the 66 Kathy rage buying back. Oh my gosh, bro. Is that me who thought that was wild? Like, that was wild, right? That wasn't just me. That was like actually like a fucking movie. We're looking at second by second by second, and it's breaking over these levels. That's incredible. All right, let's get to how the rest of the market did. Congratulations, everybody. $66 after hours for Palantir. 65.81 close, all-time high, highest close ever for Palantir. Bitcoin, 91,300. Robinhood ends the day green, 32.32. Qs, 496 and up a little bit after hours, 497. Rocket Lab ends the day up 9.45%. Tesla up 3.075%. Enphase is down about 6%. HIMS was down 7%. SoFi was up 1.72%. Ethereum was up. Dogecoin was up a little bit on the day, up about 5%. Eli Lilly was down 5%. Novo Nordisk was down 4%. Moderna was down 7%. Pfizer was down 5%. And Bristol Myers Squibb was down 4%, all because of the fear of Robert F. Kennedy being the health and what Secretary of something, health and something director that he. There's so many cabinet positions that were announced this week, but I think it was. I'm just gonna get the exact wording right here. It was health and something, and the street's afraid that he's gonna do so. Oh, health and human services. So the street's afraid that he's gonna ban vaccines or something. Apple's down 1.4%. Meta ends the day down 3%. Microsoft ends the day down 3%. Google down 2%. Amazon down 4%. Nvidia down 3%. Tesla, the only one that ends the day green, up about 3% on the day. Health and human services, correct. Health and human services. Some other names that we had. So again, Rocket Lab was up 9%. This was on Elon Musk getting to a $250 billion valuation on SpaceX, which is absolutely incredible. If that continues to go higher, then I would imagine Rocket Lab's TAM also will continue to go higher. The indices, S&P down about 1.28% on the day. IWM down 1.48% on the day. And the Qs had their worst day in a couple of weeks. All three of the indices had their worst days since Trump got elected, down 2.38% on the day as we end out the market. Oklo was down 24% on the day. I did not see that. And ASTS was down 10% on the day. So both of those stocks that had earnings yesterday, they were indeed down. MicroStrategy up about 4% on the day. And SMCI was also up 3% on the day after being down about 30% over the past 2 weeks. Palantir, 65.86 after hours, closes at $65. There you go. There you go. That's what we got in terms of the markets this week. This was pretty incredible. This was pretty incredible. Lila, thank you for being here. That was great. Glad we are in this together to experience this. We deserve it. I agree. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I know people will complain about valuation and say it's expensive and all that stuff, and I get it. But this is a retail success story, in my opinion. And the stock could go down from here. It could go up from here. But retail was in this thing before a lot of other people realized that this thing had potential. And this thing is not just a stock, but it's a company that is a movement. It's an idea. It's a set of values that people believe in. And at the end of the day, it is something that can become one of the most valuable companies in the planet. So what's really important, again, Palantir is not part of the NASDAQ yet, but they are likely going to be soon. And that makes them eligible to be included into the QQQ, which tracks the NASDAQ 100. That means more and more funds will have to buy a slice of Palantir in this ETF. And at this point, given Palantir's price action, I don't know if Palantir by itself can have a massive drawdown. That is obviously very possible. But I think now that it's part of all these big indices and like now that it's becoming an institutional holding, you would have to see a real market correction, I think, for Palantir to really get hit badly if it falls back to that $25, $30 level, which is obviously very possible. But at this point, Palantir is kind of ingratiating themselves in all the right parts of the market. And it's tough to go down if institutions keep buying as the market continues to send tech higher, and as inflows continue to come in for all these ETFs as well. All the ETFs tracking the NASDAQ, also iShares from BlackRock, et cetera. Yeah, so now there's a lot of derivative ETFs that track the NASDAQ that are not the NASDAQ itself, and all of those will have to do a bit of buying for Palantir. So it's going to get pretty incredible. On the show tonight, we'll go even deeper into the numbers on Palantir Weekly and get through some even more stuff with all the news updates we had, but absolutely incredible day for Palantir. 150 billion will be tough to bring down. Yeah. And look, you got a sticky investor base. And look, like Tesla was $1 trillion and that came back down to 300 billion, right? So yes, market caps can come down. It's just, you got a sticky investor base that now at 50 from 65, is that a dip? Technically, not really, but also at $15 down feels like a dip, right? And so you say, all right, I'm getting a better deal from 65 to 50. Like there's all these different psychological dynamics that are going to take place over the next few months. And that could continue to send Palantir higher and continue to increase momentum. All right, let's get one of our favorite analysts on the show and get his perspective on what's going on in the markets, what's going on in the crypto world, what's going on with these 13 Fs, and obviously what's also going on with Palantir. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dividend Streams, Steve. Steve, what's up?
You got jokes. I'm just going to say that.
What joke? What jokes did I make?
You got jokes. You got jokes.
I mean, I know I try to be funny, but I don't know.
I mean, I wake up to a text message this morning saying, why didn't you tell me to buy XRP? I mean, you got jokes.
I mean, the thing's up 50% in a week. I feel like my friend should have told me to check out.
I've been trying to tell you. You don't listen.
No, I don't think you've actually ever told me about XRP.
Do we need to go through the receipts? How many videos of Brad Garlinghouse have I sent you from CNBC and Fox Business to watch? How many times have I told you to look into Ripple Labs?
You never told me he was the CEO of Ripple Labs. You just said, here's this guy named Brad Garlinghouse.
How many times did I tell you that Ripple is going to IPO probably in 2025?
All right. You are right. You're right. It's up. You've done well on this.
It's not stop. I'm telling you, this is not going to stop. This is going to be incredible what's going to happen over the next couple of years.
Okay. I mean, look, I believe you. I have the receipts to prove it now. So
yeah, but will you actually watch one of these videos and actually try to understand it? That's the question.
I'll watch one of these videos when you put a actual significant amount of your net worth into XRP. How about that? You put 100 grand in, I'll actually watch a video.
But you don't need to.
Now you got nothing to say. Now you got nothing to say. That's okay.
You do. I do.
It's okay. Anyway,
you don't need to put 100 grand in to make a lot of money on this.
All right, look, it's 80 cents. I'll put in 1,000, so I'll have it. I'm
not telling you to buy. I'm just asking you to watch a video and do some due diligence. You do due diligence on the most ridiculous companies. You can't do due diligence on this. Come on.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do chat. We all got to do some due diligence on XRP, and we'll give our thesis to Steve next week. How about that? I'll do.
I like it. You're gonna make a commitment. I like it.
I'll make a commitment.
Bravo.
Whoever in the chat wants to research, I'll research. Next week on the market close, we'll give you a little.
We'll compare notes. We'll crowdsource it, kind of like Elon and Ron Paul. Crowdsource Doge. I like it.
All right, so Steve, I think let's get started with the topic of the day. Palantir is up 11.2%, 65.81.
Just like I told you yesterday, this is the most ridiculous reason for it to go up. Ridiculous. I'm not being a hater. I'm just saying that it did not go up this much on a percentage basis upon the S&P news. And the S&P news is way bigger than this. Is this bullish? Yes. But I mean, to go up that much on a day like today, I mean, this is just chasing at this point.
So if you think the QQQ news is not enough to get it up, then who's buying at these levels?
No, obviously it was enough to get it up. I'm just questioning what people are thinking at this point, because being part of the NASDAQ is great. It becomes a force buy on the Qs and any Qs derivative. Great. Growth funds becomes a buy. But the S&P, like I told you last night, means that S&P index fund and total market funds have to buy it. There's so much more liquidity, and those funds are so much bigger because a lot of retirement plans are in those and not the Qs. And I just think that the QQQ has a 340 billion market cap for assets under management. That's a fraction of these other funds. I just think it was more impactful for it to be added to S&P, not the Qs. That's all.
So I think that's a fair point. My question here, though, is like, someone's buying it at after hours right now at $66.
I have no idea who would be crazy enough to buy it at this valuation.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Market cap right here is 149.9 billion. Let's call it 150.
It's going to be 200 by Christmas.
Okay, 200.
We're going to have a 200 billion market cap by Christmas at this rate.
Price to sales is 56. Price to free cash flow at this point is
130, 140 times.
Yeah. So my argument here is let's just assume, let's play out a couple scenarios. Let's play the first scenario. Sure. Institutions are FOMOing in. Does that end good or bad?
I mean, I don't know. It can end good. I mean, look, maybe this is the one company that never has to go down, right? But we all know how those stories eventually end, right? I mean, nothing goes up forever. Even Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, and Apple took a dump in 2022. Granted, it was a little bit different circumstance, but stocks don't just go up. This is straight chasing at this point.
Okay, so let's play another argument here. I saw this story on the Market Open. I'm just going to summarize it real quick. My sister came up to me. She works in the education system. She found some platform that makes teachers more effective with AI. And she coaches teachers, and she was just like amazed beyond imagination that AI can do all this stuff. Is there a world where we are underhyping AI, and that is why the market? So could that justify 150 billion on Palantir?
No, because just because we may be underhyping AI does not mean all of those revenue dollars are going to Palantir. Like, you got to think about it from an AI perspective, is just AI is in general that it's going to enhance every software platform that people are using to some degree. And we are not understanding how drastic it's going to change things. Like, people who remember or was working at companies when the shift to cloud from on-prem servers to cloud servers, or dedicated software to ERPs and SaaS computing, had drastic changes on productivity. This could have drastic changes.
Well, so that's my point. If it's going to increase the market so much, I know you said not every dollar goes to Palantir, but if the market gets bigger,
the overall theme is bullish for AI. I don't think anybody can say it's not. People were saying it wasn't, and look at what NVIDIA is doing. Look what these companies are doing. The biggest thing, it doesn't matter what your opinion or my opinion or anybody else's opinion is. Amazon spent $64 billion on CapEx in the past 12 months. Microsoft and Alphabet both spent over $49 billion. The amount of money that's being spent on generative AI and building out AI capabilities is more insane than anything we have ever seen on a CapEx spend.
So that's my point. When you say that, and I'm just playing, I'm trying to make the argument, why can't that justify 150 for Palantir billion market cap?
It very well may send it there, but from a justification standpoint, at some point, financial metrics and numbers have to matter. Otherwise, anything can happen.
No, but I feel that, but you're painting me this picture that says this market is like theoretically bigger than the internet in terms of spend, capex, etc.
I think it could be.
Okay,
I mean, bigger than the internet is a really hard statement. More important, arguable, but it's going to be huge. This market's going to be huge because it's not just the immediate. What happens when you embed AI into appliances?
Well, so hold on, Steve. So my question is, if that is true and the market recognizes that potential, why would they care about market cap, price to sales, price to earnings?
Obviously, they don't.
So
we're in a euphoric stage right now.
But see, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say we're euphoric and then
that's
say
the dumbest thing, because I can just buy 2 cakes, eat one, and keep the other.
I've never heard someone give that answer. This is the first time. Congrats. That was a good answer. But here's my point. You're saying we can't be euphoric and every dollar is not going to go to Palantir, yada, yada. But then you're saying this could be the greatest thing since the internet. Like,
what I'm saying is we absolutely can be in a euphoric moment, and we probably are. And it could get even more crazier. It could keep going. But at some point, valuations have to matter. And if this gets more stretched, you could see people be like, listen, I'm just going to sell because I've already made my money. I mean, in all seriousness, a lot of people got in at 12. A lot of people have a cost basis of under 15.
So
What point do people sell?
No, so I agree, but this is how I think of it. If I had a chance to invest in OpenAI at 80 billion a year ago, I don't think I would have given two shits, quite frankly, about any of the traditional metrics I look at when I invest in a company. I would say, take my money, get me in the deal, and I'm going to go to sleep for the next 10 years because I think OpenAI could achieve AGI. I feel like that is what's happening with Palantir. People are saying, I don't care, take my money. I'm going to look at it in 10 years. AI is going to be bigger. 150 billion will one day be $1 trillion. And my question to you, and I know you, I know you agree with that line of logic, but my question is, could that be a realistic justification?
It could be, yes, it could be a realistic justification of why people are FOMOing in. But the probability of Palantir becoming $1 trillion software company in the next 10 years is slim. I mean, think about it. There is no, unless you consider Meta, which I do not consider them, so I'm comfortable making this statement. I do not consider Meta a pure play software company, okay? Because they're a service company. But if you exclude Meta, because I can make the argument either way for them, no pure play software company from Adobe to Oracle to Salesforce, none of these companies is past $600 billion. None of them. It's just so hard for me to get my head around where Palantir is versus the money that they make. And even in 10 years from now, compounded out at 20 or 30% growth for 10 years. You're not getting to you're not getting to a revenue that makes sense for $1 trillion valuation.
No, I mean, look, that's fair. I mean, even if you compound 40% growth with free cash margins for the next 10 years, you're getting close to maybe a $50 price target. But that's through a conventional DCF. However, obviously the market.
And I'm not saying that that's correct. I'm just saying at some point, people are going to look at all these other companies like, man, I made a ton of money. Maybe it's time to take some off the table. Maybe I just take half out and let the other half roll. At some point, that's going to happen.
Yeah. And look, here's the other thing. Again, we've been talking about this for a long time. A lot of people in the chat have been in Palantir for a while. And I pretty much everyone agrees it's expensive, but no one feels the necessity or like the burning desire to be like, all right, let me just sell. Because if this is a little bit of an NVIDIA, then you just hold and you don't have to buy, but you definitely don't have to sell. And
NVIDIA is a lot cheaper than Palantir.
I get it. But my point is, if people think Palantir will grow into this valuation, why sell?
Valuation's starting to get so big, it's going to be harder to grow into it.
Well, I agree with that. Obviously,
I'm not poo-pooing the idea. I'm happy Palantir's up. I'm happy everybody's making a lot of money on this. I'm good with it. All I'm saying is it's getting to levels that people should really start looking at this and being like, well, what do we do now? Because the probability of this going from 130 to 250 billion market cap and for this to continue to go up is so improbable. It could happen, but you're talking about getting to a market cap where there are companies that are generating more than $10 billion a year in free cash flow at that market cap. Like Palantir.
How likely do you think this stock will see 35 again one day? Scale of 1 to 10.
It's a coin flip 5. It may not. I mean, it really may not. There's so much momentum behind it. Like the same way you always say you don't fight the Fed, you don't fight momentum. Like this is not something you want to fight. This is not something you want to short. It could definitely see a retracement going all the way down to 35 from here. I mean, the market would have to take a real big correction, I think, for that to happen. Or Palantir would have to miss on revenue growth for that to happen. I mean, look, that's the problem now. Palantir is priced out of perfection. So the slightest miss on earnings, this is seeing a huge retracement.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't think they're going to miss on earnings for a while because
they may not.
They know that they know that they need to keep up the growth. They're not going to stop that. And so if the market expectations get a little bit more intense, they could theoretically miss. But if the market expectations stay low, which they are, because the analysts don't like Palantir, then they could keep beating.
Yeah, look, they could keep beating, but I think right now it's unless Palantir misses earnings, I think this is going to be an exciting stock because it's the hottest sector of the market, and it could keep going. But we've seen this story play out. Salesforce was the golden child for a long time. because it was the pillar of cloud computing and SaaS. I mean, you have had Workday. You've had a lot of companies that have drastically benefited, and at some point they sell off. All I'm saying is this can't be a blind scenario where this only goes up. At some point, people will take profits. And look, companies miss earnings.
No, I agree. And look, a lot of people in the chat are also saying people have taken profits. So you're right. Retail that has $12, $15 averages, they have taken profits. But the people that are buying are either going to be new retail that is chasing, or it's hedge funds that are not selling.
You've had a lot of institutional buying over the past 6 months. At some point, institutional buying is going to slow down, and people taking profits is not going to get gobbled up. If we were not in a scenario where they just got into the S&P and you still have funds buying, there is no way that this would have still went up with Peter Thiel and Karp selling the amount of shares they did.
Yeah,
that was a golden scenario that it did not come down on that.
I think it's pretty obvious now that Thiel and Karp sold to the institutions. I think it's pretty obvious that's what happened.
Could be.
You know, and they probably couldn't have done it without S&P inclusion, at least not to the level they did it at. That's correct. I agree. Okay, so if it's not worth 150 billion, and put in the chat as well for the people that don't agree with this 150 billion. What do you think it's worth, Steve, in terms of market cap?
Look, it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it right now.
No, I get that, but what would you like it to be worth?
I mean, look, the market's always right, but for me to buy more shares, like that's how I'm going to answer that. For me to buy more shares, I would feel a lot better paying 50 or 60 times free cash flow, even 70 times free cash flow, not 130 times free cash flow. Because at some point your upside gets squeezed. And even at 70 times free cash flow, that's still a crazy valuation in my opinion.
So that's 80 billion, so 35 essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mid 30s is a area that looks good because you're still giving it a crazy multiple for forward growth, which it deserves, but it's not an unrealistic multiple where your upside is squeezed. Because do we really think it's going to 100 in 2025? I mean, just think about the straight line that's going to be. You know what I mean?
Look, I feel you, but at this rate, this guy doesn't.
I'm not saying it can't. It could.
It could also go back down to 25. I think both.
If it goes back down to 25, if it goes down on 25 just because of retracement and that type of stuff, and the growth story is still there, I will be buying hand over fist.
But my thing is, if you're ready to buy hand over fist at 25, there's also people ready to buy hand over fist at 45. And so I think that makes the dip harder to keep dipping.
I agree with you 100%. This is not going to be an easy stock to take down. Do me a favor, because I'm in the car. Type in Joe T and tell me what the top 10 holdings are, because that's Joe Terranova's Momentum ETF. I'm interested to see if Palantir's in the top 10 holdings, because he has a system that he built this ETF on that only cares about certain rules in the market, and it's a straight momentum ETF.
Okay, JOET, one sec. Top 10 holdings are AppLovin, which we both missed, by the way. We completely missed that one. United Airlines, Interactive Brokers, Spotify, Coinbase, Garmin, Delta, Fortinet, Axon, and Palantir.
Palantir's in his top 10. You don't want to fight the momentum.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. All right, cool. So that's what we got on Palantir. We'll be back on Palantir Weekly, guys, at 11 p.m. to go even deeper on all the events that happened this week. I'm
going to call somebody out. I feel like calling somebody out. I don't even know who I'm calling out right now, but how come people are surprised I'm bullish on SoFi? Like, I got Twitter stuff, and then even on Seeking Alpha, people leaving comments like, where were you at $8? Like, are you serious?
Okay, well, hold on.
All
right, so let's move on to SoFi. Let's discuss this.
Where was I at $8? Like, are you kidding me?
Okay, so I love you, Steve. I love you a lot. But I am going to say, on this show, when it was $8 for a couple months, you refused to talk about it. You were annoyed at Noto. You didn't want it. That doesn't mean you weren't bullish.
I wasn't bullish.
I agree, but part of being bullish is also like speaking when the stock is down. I experienced that for 2 years with Palantir. So I think that's what the sentiment is. That doesn't mean those people are right, but that sentiment I can understand.
So what's funny is if you go to my article, the second chart in the article is actual chart with where my articles are, and I wrote an article in August about why I was very bullish on SoFi. Freaking August when it was at $8.
Look, you've
Like
been
that,
bullish for years. You got me
like
into SoFi. I agree.
like for people to say where were you at 8, it's like, okay, you guys obviously don't look at past history when people talk about things. They didn't even read the article because I freaking had that chart, the graph in there. Craziness.
I'm pulling up your article right now. Well, regardless, I think the OGs know you've been talking about SoFi for years now. Let's talk a little SoFi. 1360. You said it's breaking out right here. Why do you think shares are going higher?
Noto sandbags every quarter. We know this. He raised guidance again, and this is no longer a story of what if. I mean, they're going to break 10 million members this year. They added the most members in their history last quarter, 730,000 or whatever it was. They are diversifying. Lending is only 52% of their adjusted net revenue, I believe. And they are exceeding adjusted EBITDA levels, and GAAP profitability keeps going up. They're expected to finish the year with a 25% adjusted EBITDA margin, generate 12 cents on the high end for EPS. It'll probably be more because no sandbags. But the earnings call was so bullish because of the tech platform. And I've always said, in order for SoFi not to be classified as just a bank, it has to prove it's a technology company. And not just because it owns Galileo and Technesis and built a fully integrated software stack that is powering its underlying platform. They have to cross-sell it. And they said there are many RFPs that they're competing in that have lasted 12 to 18 months so far. Large financial institutions are involved, and they are worried about how much their budget's going to be to migrate, but they have to migrate because of risk, regulatory, and some other metric that Noto said. And he flat out said that many of the RFPs they're in are with large financial institutions, and he is confident they're going to win some of them. If SoFi wins one or two of them, if it's a Wells Fargo, UBS, whoever it is, Citigroup, whoever it is, then they are going to be powering their entire banking network. They are going to be looked at as a technology company or a hybrid company, and they're going to be generating recurring revenue and become the AWS of fintech. In addition to taking market share away from these companies also and providing a futuristic bank that obviously people like because you have more member growth and you keep getting more deposits. This is not slowing down anytime soon. And in not next year, but the year after, they could generate $1 billion of net income. I mean, I think that they are on track to do 280 this year. Maybe they do 500, 550 next year. I mean, this is with the regulatory environment that's going to get easier, cost of capital coming down, more originations, home market that should get unlocked when the Fed gets past 4 or below 4% on rates. There's going to be a lot that they can do. They just did the deal with Fortress. There is tremendous demand for their loan book, a loan book that they were doing loans at higher rates. So now everybody's going to want them, especially with their strict underwriting process. I mean, this thing is not the bear trap that everybody that was on the bear side claimed. They've disproved everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're spot on about this. I think the big part of your article is that this AWS of fintech thing, which is the reason you got even excited about SoFi, is continuing to seem like it's more of a reality to you.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I know what this process is like because I run this process for a fairly big company. It is not quick, especially when you're making very big decisions with moving software platforms. And I can't even imagine what it's like for a financial institution to do this uplift. And once you do it, you don't want to go back. Anybody who utilizes a company like Oracle or SAP or Workday, Paycom, ADP, any of these companies for HCM or a true ERP system with finance and HR, anybody that's been through an implementation knows the last thing you want to do is once that contract's over, go to a different company. That's why you vet all the companies in the first place. It is one of the most sticky businesses, and SoFi is going to be in a really good place if they start winning some of these RFPs.
Steve, I have some
You're
breaking
talking
news.
about, oh boy.
I have some breaking news on SoFi. Let's take a look at this.
Wow.
Account tweeted, SpaceX is preparing to launch a tender offer in December to sell existing shares at a price of $135 per share. SoFi comments, interesting, with eye emojis underneath the post.
Well, we know that SoFi is all about the alternative investments and breaking barriers, so that's not shocking.
I mean, if they could offer the SpaceX IPO, well, not SpaceX IPO, but SpaceX like a.
Yeah, but the question is, can you buy them directly, or does it have to be part of an alternative fund?
No, that's fair. That's fair. No, that's fair, guys.
So don't get too crazy about it.
Yeah, I don't think you guys will be able to like literally buy SpaceX tender shares.
Yeah, I mean, I had an opportunity to get into it. I didn't because I didn't trust the source on how to get them into my account or any of that bullshit. But I probably fucked up with not taking the chance. But
wait, I mean, really? You could have had SpaceX and you were what? The source? That like
I sent you all the information like a year and a half ago.
It was just a regular SPV, right?
It was some fund that like links to your brokerage account, and if it ever goes public, they transfer it in.
That's how all of them do it. They all link it like.
I don't know.
Okay, well,
anyway.
Usually it's through like Carta or one of those platforms. But okay, so SoFi wouldn't offer the actual stock because there is no SpaceX stock. But you think what, like ARK would buy SpaceX and then you could buy the ARK venture fund? Maybe that's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can get around not being an accredited investor to get those shares on the secondary market unless they strike down those rules with Gensler supposedly leaving the SEC. So maybe they get rid of him. And I think the whole accredited investor thing is stupid because, look, if you can't stop me from going and cleaning up my bank account and going to AC or Vegas, why should you stop me from buying a private company? It's the craziest thing. The whole thing is to protect investors from themselves. Well, protect investors from gambling. You can't. And plenty of publicly traded companies have gone under. And people have lost a lot of money. So the whole accredited investor thing's crazy.
No, I agree. I'm curious how they would allow people on SoFi to access SpaceX because that would be, I think they would get a lot.
It's got to be through one of these alternative funds that owns a bunch of private equity companies. Not private, but I mean privately held companies.
Yeah, but I don't want to hold a fund that has a ton of discord in it. Like
I agree.
You know, that's not the right way to get exposure ever, in my opinion.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are going to have shares through SoFi for people that are accredited that can prove they're accredited through the SoFi platform. If they did that, I would do it in a heartbeat because I would feel a lot more safe buying it through SoFi than one of these third-party places.
Yeah.
But look, the AWS of FinTech is a lot of the bull thesis because that's the only thing that's going to get it to not have a banking valuation. It is what it is. I mean, you need that to happen. It looks like it's going to. The combination of Technesis and Galileo is going to shave, or is shaving, $60 to $70 million in annualized costs off of SoFi's bills. It's powering SoFi. When they cross-sell that, if they're able to, you're talking about reoccurring revenue annually from some of the biggest financial institutions. So not only are you utilizing this to make yourself more efficient, take market share, and lower your costs, but you're also generating revenue off of it from other sides and further diversifying your revenue base. So, I mean, they're the only company still that I know of that owns the entire back end of any company. I don't know any other company that owns the components that SoFi does and has put them together for a full banking platform. Like, really think about that. They're using it for their nationally chartered bank and all their processing and all their cores and everything.
It's fair. It's a fair point.
They are not some little small rinky-dink thrift bank. I mean, they are a cloud-first company, and that is what's interesting to these legacy banks from a regulatory standpoint and a risk mitigation standpoint, and for powering the future of their businesses. So,
yeah,
that'll be the catalyst in 2025. If you start seeing those wins publicized, that'll be the big catalyst. And at that point, what type of valuation could they get? Could be pretty big.
Thank you, Chris, for becoming a channel member. Steve, Palantir is $66.12 after hours.
Good.
Just letting you know. It was $66.20 at one point.
Good.
So, yeah.
I'm glad it's going up.
Okay, I want to ask you about. Well, first of all, what is your raw reaction to SpaceX potentially raising a 250 billion? I mean,
It's just like Riot. What I told Matt about Rocket Lab. I don't get it. I don't know. Whatever.
XAI raised that 50 billion today, $5 billion.
Yeah, that's not surprising given the market cycle we're in for AI stuff. So, especially with Musk behind it and just what they want to do. I mean, I'm not surprised. I hope that Tesla shareholders get first crack or some rights to something. That would be nice.
Okay, so then let's talk about Mr. Buffett.
What would really be nice if Elon just created a holding company, dumped all these companies into, and just sold shares of that. That would be very nice. That way, long-term Tesla holders could benefit from SpaceX, Neuralink, Boring, XAI, X.
Well, let me read you this. This was a good post I saw today as well. So Elon has founded or co-founded these companies. Zip2 sold it for 307 million.
Yep.
X.com sold for 1.5 billion with eBay. SpaceX valued at now 250 billion. Tesla valued at $1 trillion. OpenAI, originally nonprofit, now it's 157 billion. Elon's gone. Boring Company valued at 7 billion. Neuralink valued at 3 billion. Twitter valued at 10 billion. And XAI valued at 50 billion. He's the CEO of 6 of the 9 companies.
Yeah, let's not forget that he was a founding member of PayPal too.
Oh yeah, Zip2 became into PayPal. Yeah. That's wild, right? That's wild.
He's not a normal human.
And now he's going to
government. And he's going to work for free for the government. He's not a normal human.
It's pretty remarkable, dude. I mean,
it's incredible. He's the Einstein of our generation.
I agree. Okay, Mr. Buffett bought $500 million of Domino's.
Why are you so surprised by this?
I mean, look, this was weird to me. I didn't expect this.
But you've gone through Berkshire's holdings before. He owns every Dairy Queen.
Yeah, but
why not add a pizza chain?
Yeah, but like I'm trying to think of the logic of this. Forget like his style. Why this and why right now?
Because he likes boring companies.
Okay.
Everybody has to eat.
Okay.
Pizza never goes out of style. I mean, I don't know. It makes no sense other than he likes boring companies.
I think he thinks a recession's coming and he thinks pizza will be around during a recession.
Oh, it's going to be around no matter what.
But like you got Domino's, by the way, ended down 1% today. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the logic behind a $500 million buy this last quarter. That's what.
So I was having this conversation with my dad last night. I'm like, I don't know why people care so much about what he's buying, what he's not buying. The guy missed, and granted, he's one of the greatest investors, if not the greatest investor of all time. But why is he? Because he amassed a large amount of money, and he put a ridiculous amount of money in Bank of America when it was dirt cheap, and Apple when it was dirt cheap, and just sat there and hold. He didn't get into Amazon until last year or the year before. Never invested in Meta, Nvidia, Microsoft, Netflix, none of those companies. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, it's a whatever. I don't care.
Well, that's a fair point. I think, but he also sold out of 96% of Ulta, which was a little weird. But yeah, switched Ulta for Domino's. All right, so then let's talk about Ackman. 16 million shares of Nike. Have you thought on this? Does it make any sense to you?
We talked about this yesterday.
Well, yeah. Well, now we're talking about it with the Friday crew.
Frame it if I still think it's ridiculous.
Here's the okay. So why is it ridiculous to get a company down 30% this year, doing 50 billion in revenue with a dividend? What's bad about that?
Where's Nike's mode?
They have a household brand. That brand is not going anywhere. There is competition, but
I'm not disagreeing with that. But where's their mode to fend off competition with all of these brands coming up? And granted, sneakers is much different, but you still have big competition from Adidas and other companies. But in the clothing, I mean, a new clothing brand pops up every month. Look at all those clothing brands that went on Shark Tank. I mean,
yeah, but that doesn't mean those clothing brands are going to take away Nike. Like, I think we have to remember.
I'm not saying take away, but it just makes things that much harder. Look how big Lululemon became. Came out of nowhere.
Well, obviously, Ackman's seeing something that we're not seeing. I mean, 16 million shares is not a small amount. So
he's a lot smarter than me, so I'm hoping he is.
So we have to think outside the box. What does he see? I think he handpicked the CEO, and I think he's going to work with that guy to turn this thing around. And
maybe, I mean, look, maybe there's a lot of cost cutting stuff that we're not seeing on the outside, and maybe they can expand margins, and maybe that's the play. And if that's the case, it would work. I mean, yeah, Nike's got a good brand for sporting equipment and that type of stuff also, but it's just it's not exciting to me because anybody can make clothing and anybody can make sporting equipment. There's just so much competition out there. And once again, if you're going to put your money there, what's the reasoning for not buying Amazon or Alphabet or Meta?
that is confusing because Ackman's not like Buffett. He's a little bit more tech friendly. For him to not buy, well, here's a question because that transitions us into the Qs. They were down 2.5% today. All the big hedge funds, pretty much a decent amount of them, shaved off big tech. Do you think the Qs are just too expensive right now?
No.
Well, obviously, Bill Ackman's not buying more Google. He's buying Nike. So
Look at the earnings growth. I have it in one of my recent articles. It's not the Cisco one. It's I don't remember what article I put in. It could have been the Palantir article, but I mean, look at the forward earnings growth in just the Mag 7. I mean, they are not. You're telling me that Alphabet trading at 17 or 18 times 2026 earnings and Meta trading at 20 times is expensive? Tell me Apple trading at 24 times 2026 earnings is expensive? I mean, look at where Costco is trading and Walmart's trading. They're trading like old school companies. Big tech is not expensive.
So why is Ackman not buying big tech then?
I don't know.
But it's not just him. It's a lot of these guys. They're not touching big tech.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense because Lena Khan's going to get canned. So you're going to have talks about antitrust and monopoly go out the door. So it's going to be a much more friendly environment for big tech. You have Elon, Sachs, Chamath, and probably Joe Lonsdale advising on a lot of stuff with big tech with regulation. These companies are not going to get broken up because they're on the forefront of expanding AI. And if they do get broken up, we'll fall behind China on AI capabilities over the next year or two. So that's not going to happen. They're probably not going to be able to acquire companies. The threats of antitrust are probably very slim at this point. And you're going to, based on whatever it looks like, we're going to get a lot of earnings expansion. And these are the companies that are dumping tens of billions. Nobody is dumping as much money toward CapEx as these companies, which is going to allow them to generate significantly more earnings in the future.
But why Stanley Druckenmiller sold most of his big tech? Why do those guys not see what you're saying, which is pretty obvious about forward growth? Like they obviously don't like these valuations outside of Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't have to.
No one has to, but it's interesting that these guys don't really think tech.
Yeah, I mean, look, they think their capital is better served somewhere else. That's all. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, let's talk Tesla. Tesla is the EV subsidy is gone. Bullish or bearish?
Short-term bearish, long-time bullish.
Did you see a clip of Elon talking about the subsidy ever?
Yeah, I saw him say that he wants it gone for everything, oil, everything.
Yeah, it was a clip. Did you see it recently?
I think I saw it yesterday.
Okay, so you saw the same clip I'm talking about. So he says, I quote, "We don't need the $7,500 EV tax credit. Do we need support for gas stations? We don't. There's no need for support for charging networks. I'm literally saying get rid of all subsidies, but also for oil and gas."
Yep.
It looks like he doesn't care at all.
No, because he knows that the freaking car business is not the end story for Tesla. And he knows that this administration is probably going to be more inclined to help him get FSD through legislation. And he knows robotics is the end game.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because the street reacted down 9% or 7% yesterday for Tesla. And now it's like people kind of were like, it doesn't matter that much. And they bought it.
Think about it like this. You take away that 7,500 credit, you now destroy Ford and GM's EV business. And if Tesla's margins are good enough where they still turn a profit without the 7,500, doesn't matter for them because eventually all that lost profit will come back. I don't remember how much they were making off buying and selling the EV credits, but the bottom line is that they will make it back and then some from bots. That is going to be the story. That's going to take them to a $5 or $10 trillion company.
So Ron Barron today says they're going to 10 trillion, if not 30 trillion over the next 20 years. Do you agree with that?
30 may be a little crazy, but I could easily see 10.
Why can you easily see? It's just bots. That's your.
I'm buying 2 of them when they become on the like. I don't know why you're laughing. Like I'm buying 2 of them.
It's just
one for my household and one for my parents.
I think they're a long time away before they get into people's houses.
And I'm not saying that they're going to be here next year. It's going to be a long time before businesses allow them to be on the market, because they're going to gobble everything up unless there's laws against it. But yeah, they're very easy scenario that you have 5 to 10 billion bots by 2040, 2050. And here's the biggest thing. And I know you're an investor in a different company, but regardless if Tesla makes the best bot or not, nobody's going to be able to beat them in manufacturing and mass producing at scale to get it to market. Nobody. So that's the other thing that people need to look at. There's going to probably be many winners, or some winners. This is not going to be one winner takes all. It's probably going to be some winners take most, but Tesla's probably going to be at the top of the quartile because nobody's going to be able to beat them in manufacturing.
Yeah. A lot of startups in this space are going to be very, very big.
And I don't know why people would want to create a startup in this space right now, because you have to think between Tesla's capabilities with AI, between what they already have with NVIDIA chips, their engineering team, and what they've proven that they did against the auto industry with Tesla. This is not a company you want to go against with robotics by any means.
I agree. I think bots are going to be huge. I think there's going to be a couple of winners. I think Tesla's going to be up there. And I think next year, if they show a purchase order or a letter of intent for 100,000 bots from like Walmart or something, it's game over at that point.
You know that's going to happen.
I don't know if it happens next year, but it's going to happen. I don't know if it's next year, though.
I mean, at some point, you got to think that the bots are going to be sitting in the freaking Tesla semis that they sell them. They're going to unload them and do all that stuff. I mean, it's going to be a much different world in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so I know you don't love the guy, but Jay Powell had a press conference yesterday, and he said something along the lines of the economy is not showing any signs for us to, the exact quote, the economy is not sending any signal that we will need to be in a hurry to lower rates. That sent the future probabilities on CME from 80-20 to 60-40. So the question to you is simple. Are we getting a rate cut in December?
We may not, but I mean, look, you can't discount what they've done, and they guided this to a soft landing. Nobody can say they didn't, because they did. Okay, whether you agree with how they did it or how we got here, short-term pain and whatnot, the bottom line is we are where we are, and they got us to a soft landing. But for them to come out and say that, they are looking at this wrong. Completely backwards. Forget about the economy for a minute. The fact that the carrying cost on debt and the fact that mortgages and private loans have such high interest rates, you can only bring that down by making the bond market decline their yields. And the only way you're going to do that is by getting rates to 3% or under. And too many people are locked up in 2.5% to 3% mortgages because they refied during COVID. Nobody wants to go buy a house and get stuck in a 6.5%, 7% mortgage when they're in a 3%. Nobody. Nobody wants to refinance now if they have a lower rate at a higher rate. You need to unlock the housing market. You need to unlock the loan market. And these rates are not inclusive for business. And even if we don't get a rate cut this December, I don't think it matters. There's going to be so much pressure from the Trump administration to bring rates down because he wants the free markets to compete. And the free markets won't truly compete until the cost of capital is low enough where it makes sense for companies to borrow and expand or start up.
So you think the rate cut will happen in December? Or do you think it has to happen?
It's a coin flip. I don't think it matters. I think that if it doesn't happen, when Trump gets elected, that administration is going to put so much pressure on that you'll see the Fed eventually get to 3.5% sometime next year.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, also the labor market, we cannot risk that sucker getting destroyed.
The worst thing anybody should want is rates to stay high, because then you run the risk of unemployment going up, and you want people to have jobs. You don't want unemployment going up, because when unemployment goes up, you run the risk of a recession. That's the last thing anybody should want. Everybody should stop looking at inflation and start looking at what is best for the country from an economic standpoint. And what's best for the country is everybody working full employment and a business environment where businesses can compete. Because if you have a market where businesses can compete, you don't have to worry about inflation, because there's always be competition.
Right. Okay. So Mackenzie Scott today sold some Amazon.
Yeah, she's probably giving away another 40 billion or 40 million somewhere.
She's a nice woman, dude. She's way nicer than Jeff. Way nicer. I mean, you know,
listen, her money, she can do what she wants.
She can do what she wants. That's correct. Amazon's
as long as it's going to a good cause, it's great.
Amazon's down 4%, broke all-time high yesterday. Bezos is done selling his scheduled sales. Do you still think it can hold above 200, or?
Even if it retraces to 180, who cares? This thing is going to go to 300 at some point.
So your conviction on Amazon has not at all been slighted.
It's going to be the first $1 trillion revenue company ever in the history of the market before 2030. They are not going to need to spend this amount of CapEx in a couple of years. And they're probably going to be able to take it back down to 45, 50 billion a year, just on a maintenance level, maybe a little bit lower. The amount of free cash flow, what was their free cash flow margin this quarter? Was it 10.8 or 11.2%?
11, yeah, roundabout.
Okay. So what happens at 11% free cash flow margin when you're doing $1 trillion of revenue? It's $110 billion in free cash flow.
Yeah, no, I that's fair. So on Amazon, another stock that is popular in our community is Hims, and they are down 30% now, more than 30% for the past 2 days, because Amazon's launching subscription telehealth products. Is that just the Amazon game? Your margins, my opportunity?
No, I mean, I never understood why everybody went so crazy over that company. I mean, doesn't have a proprietary product.
It has a lot of growth. I mean, that's...
I get that, but from a product standpoint, there's nothing proprietary about the company.
No, that's facts. That's facts.
So anybody can go get those pills from a doctor. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand where the moat is.
I think also, like, if your stock falls 30% because Amazon enters your industry, the market has zero confidence about your moat, right?
Yeah, like Amazon is a freaking killer.
Yeah, and I think the market's kind of looking at Hims and saying, well, we like the growth, but we do not like the fact that you're a small cap trying to compete against a $2 trillion company at this point.
And here's the big thing. Amazon has the best logistical network outside of the DoD. You don't want them getting into this business, because guess what? Any other subscription business is not going to really work. And Cuban, his business may be in some trouble if Amazon really goes full throttle on this, because if they don't have to use a different network and they can use their current logistical network, you can load all the medications up on their current trucks that already have the routes going to every household in America.
Yeah.
So tell me how somebody's going to compete with that.
Okay. So I have a couple other topics. This one, but first let's talk about NVIDIA real quick. So Jefferies raised a price target to NVIDIA from 150 to 185. Essentially, to sum up, they think Blackwell's going to ramp up. They're going to beat on revenue guidance by about $1 billion or $1.5 billion. We have earnings on Wednesday. Are you scared at all? And do you think they can actually crush it?
No, because if it goes down, buy more.
What do you think they need to do to get the street to actually buy it closer to that 180 level?
Jensen just needs to say Blackwell's off the charts. next year guidance is going to be whatever over this year's was. I mean, that's all he has to say. There's the amount of capex that's being spent, the energy companies talking about where the energy loads are going, the fact that Microsoft is starting up nuclear with
That's kind of wild.
island.
That's kind of
I
wild.
mean, you really look at this stuff. None of these companies are encroaching on NVIDIA's territory. AMD couldn't crack it. Intel sure as hell couldn't crack it. There's no other company that is going after their chips. I mean, they have a moat that is incredible, and the spending at this rate could last another 2 or 3 years. I think that we have some time before we have to start thinking about at what point do these companies scale back, because they all said on the conference calls, 2025, expect more CapEx spending.
Okay, so real quick on this topic, and then we'll move on to another one I really want to get your thoughts on. I called you before I abruptly ended the conversation yesterday because I had to go stream JPEL. That quantum computing could be what gets us to AGI, and a couple quantum computing stocks are going crazy. Are you at all interested in that field now?
I mean, I've been interested in it, and I've always thought that IBM and Alphabet were the two to get us there, because that is the next iteration of compute. It's just I don't see a small startup, even though they're more nimble, outdoing these companies, because once again, they can write a blank check and hire the best engineers.
Yeah, and my response to you was, look, if quantum computing is something that these small startups can get an edge on from the Googles or Microsofts, which obviously is going to be hard, but if they do, they get bought out for some decent
They'll
multiples.
be some of the most valuable companies.
Yeah, but you're going to
because they'll have to, because everybody will have to have that compute.
Yeah.
So if somebody can crack the mold, that's a 100-bagger at that point.
Yeah, and again, guys, I'm still doing my DD on IONQ. I know a lot of you guys like that one. Steve is too. I think next week, or at least in 2 weeks, we'll have a little bit more analysis there. I just haven't looked at it at all. I need to listen to an earnings call, actually try to understand.
I'll try to go through their stuff this weekend. I don't know if
there's no numbers though, Steve. You're not going to really get numbers.
No. Their 10Q and the earnings deck and everything. I'll try to get my brain around it, but I just think that IBM has been at it for a long time. We know Alphabet's been at it for a long time. I just don't think that one of these startup companies is really going to be able to outdo them. But I could be wrong.
Okay, let's talk about a space that unilaterally saw 5 to 6% declines, which is the pharmaceutical industry.
Yep.
What was your reaction to all those pharma stocks being down because we got RFK in the White House now?
I don't think anybody should be surprised. I mean, it depends how much latitude this guy has and what he actually wants to do. I mean, I haven't done enough research into his lawsuits and everything else that makes me intelligent enough about the subject to really speak about it. All I know is that a lot of people are saying a lot of things. I need to read it for myself to see if I can formulate a case that makes it really bearish for these companies. But I think there's one that should be worried on the surface. I don't know. We'll see. I think the food companies may be in a lot worse shape with him coming in, because when you really look at all the stuff that's in, I've watched him speak about some of this stuff. When you really look at what's in a lot of the food that we eat, and you look at the difference between our food in Canada or our food in Europe, and then you listen, it was funny, Chamath was on Rogan, and they actually talked for about 15 minutes about this. I think that there's going to be some drastic changes coming to the food industry.
Do you think the market is overreacting here with RFK?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't really heard enough to think people are trying to get ahead of things, and that's always what happens when people try to front run things, whether it's to buy or sell. So people are just trying to front run it right now. What he actually does, we got to wait and see. He hasn't even been appointed yet, or not appointed, but he hasn't even been what's the word I'm looking for? He hasn't been confirmed yet.
Yeah. I like, it's so weird because like he's not even approved yet, and like the market still is so bearish on his appointment that they The Trump
All
pump
I
is
can
not
tell you
going
is
everywhere.
all the crypto bros are going to win. I mean, this is going to be such a pro-crypto administration. Forget it.
So that was the news today. Gensler looks like he's going to retire. I think.
Oh, really? Really? You don't say.
I think, you get on me for having XRP. I don't understand how someone of your intellect doesn't have Bitcoin in your portfolio.
One, I've told you the story before.
Oh, no, what's the story?
I've told you that one of the tech guys, when I was at Bed Bath, when Bed Bath was a $70 billion company, came up to me and said, we should figure out how to mine Bitcoin. So we did the research, and it was so crazy. And the Mt. Gox thing, it just happened with a huge hack in Japan. Bitcoin was at $7 at that point. And we were like, yeah, we're not going to do it. And then I started looking into buying it, and it was so complex and so sketchy on buying it and how to store it. There was no Coinbase or anything. And I didn't do it. And then I missed the run to like 600 or whatever, and I was angry. And then Ethereum comes out. Go through the whole motion with Ethereum. Ethereum's like $8 or $10. Ended up not doing it. And then I was like, whatever. And then next thing you know, Bitcoin's at like 10, 15 grand. And then I really started looking into it.
But your sob story about missing Bitcoin is not a reason why you don't have Bitcoin.
No. So I started looking into it, and it didn't make sense about why everybody's going crazy about it. All it is people's think it's a store of value. This is not a peer-to-peer payment network. This is not something that can be used for transactions.
I don't think anybody cares about the utility of it. It is purely a hedge against money printing. That's it. That's
all it is.
Well, but it's the single best performing asset ever.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying.
So how do you believe in XRP?
No utility there.
XRP is a blockchain that has a different type of utility. How do you believe in that, but not believe in the thing that gave birth to XRP?
When you actually look into the utility of XRP, we can have that conversation.
No,
because the
agree.
Utility is off the scale.
I will give you that utility is better than Bitcoin on XRP. But if there was no Bitcoin, there is no XRP.
It is a Ferrari versus a Pinto.
You know, they asked Michael Jordan, who does he think is the greatest player of all time? And he said, I don't know, but I have to. But I have to give it up to Magic Johnson and Hakeem Olajuwon and all these people that came before him that paved the way for him. XRP could be better than Bitcoin, but if there is no Bitcoin, there is no XRP. So how do you not believe in some type of analysis around Bitcoin, but you believe in XRP?
Because XRP was built to take over the SWIFT network because of how inferior it is. It's still a network based on 70s and 80s architecture. You still need to go through several intermediary banks to send money across the world, have massive fees taken out by these intermediaries, when XRP through Ripple solves cross-border payments and settlement time is 3 seconds or less. And price fluctuation does not play a factor in it. I could send XRP. I could buy XRP in USD. I can send it to somebody in Japan, and they can sell it for yen and have it in their account. In how long does that take to do? 15, 20 seconds?
So again, you're telling me the utility of XRP. I've already conceded that it is useful. How do you not believe in the thing that is the reason for why XRP is alive right now?
Because I think it is ridiculous that we even got to this point with Bitcoin, and it's not useful for anything.
But Bitcoin's market cap going to 1.7 trillion is the reason XRP is up 50% this week.
Dude, Beanie Babies went through the roof too.
This is so weird to me because I get the utility of XRP, but for you to not believe in the thesis of Bitcoin, but believe in this altcoin that is only around because of Bitcoin, it's just weird.
It is not around only because of Bitcoin. Look, you have to look into the actual Ripple company. Look at all their partnerships with banks. Look at the underlying technology that they built. They built this for a very specific reason. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin.
I'm not saying it has to do with Bitcoin. I'm just saying there would be no blockchain if there like all this stuff happened because of Satoshi and because of this revolution and this idea.
Bitcoin can continue to go up. There's no question about that. I just think that, you know what? I think that XRP has been suppressed for so long because of these stupid lawsuits, that have nothing to do with anything. They were wrong. They're going to get dismissed. And when that happens, I think you're going to see a renaissance with XRP and Ripple, especially if Ripple IPOs next year, which the rumor is that they're going to IPO. They've been on CNBC's disruptor list for so long, and don't be surprised.
Okay, so if Gensler's out and the whole crypto ecosystem is pumping, you keep asking me what is the next 2025 play. Maybe it's crypto.
Cardano, XRP, potentially Solana. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
You know, Robin had listed all of them this week as well, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, Cardano is a lot cheaper than Ethereum for pretty much the same utility. A lot of people can build on top of the network. It's definitely an interesting play.
Some people in the chat agree with Cardano. Some people do not agree with it.
It's an interesting play. Got to do more research on it. But what I know about it, it is very interesting as an alternative to Ethereum.
I think 2020. I think 2025. Oh, wow. Is this real? I think we already know this. They're saying Bezos dumped another 686 million today. Maybe that's why it's down.
You can't convince me he's not buying a sports team.
I don't know if this was yesterday's or I think this is a new one, but yeah, dude. I mean, dude, he just got done selling 16 million shares. Like another 80,000 today. No, 200,000. Wow. Oh, it's 300,000. That's okay. Does it not concern you at all that Bezos is selling this much?
No, he wants to buy the Celtics or something.
But okay, that's fine. I mean, all the insiders are selling right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's wanted to buy a sports team for a while. I think that's why he's selling.
All right, so we'll end it out with Paulson. Oh my gosh, Paulson. Jake Paul or Tyson? Paulson, Tyson. Paul or Tyson? Who do you think is going to win?
I think this is a money grab. I don't think it's a real fight. I think it's a no-win situation for either of them. And I can't believe that this is actually going to happen. Tyson's 58. Yes, he's still Mike Tyson. He's 58. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it happen.
I am not. I don't like it either, dude. 58
Tomorrow night is more important. Tomorrow night's the real fight, and John Jones is going to once again prove why he is the best fighter of all time.
Okay, but who do you think is going to win tonight? Tyson. You're going to watch it tonight. I know you are. So.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I have no idea. I mean, I want Tyson to win. I just don't know if that's realistic.
But if you have to bet money, who would you pick?
I'm not. I mean, I would have to go with Jake Paul, unfortunately.
I feel you, but I feel like Tyson's a different
animal. Can Tyson knock him out? Yes, but listen, I sat there and watched the Roy Jones exhibition fight with Tyson. I mean, I don't know. I am not excited about this at all. I do not want to. I think this is a no-win situation.
You know, I called him Jake Powell today because I forgot his name.
Well,
I'm watching a lot of Powell. So, all right, Steve. Thank you. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your weekend, and we will talk to you next time.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Stay safe.
Talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, folks. There you go. What do you guys think? Let's do a poll in the chat. We'll end it out in 10 minutes here. Honestly, dude, I have no idea. I don't know about boxing or fighting or any of that stuff. I'm watching because it's on Netflix. If it was on any other pay-per-view thing, I would not be watching this thing. I just would not care enough to watch. But it's on Netflix, so I'll turn it on. Palantir Weekly will be at 11. This thing's going to be at 8, so we'll have some time. Maybe it'll start at 9 o'clock, but still. Okay, Paul or Tyson, let's see. It won't be on till 11. All right, then I guess it'll be on in the background of Palantir Weekly, I guess. I just don't care enough about watching it. If I miss it, I'm okay, I missed it. I don't, We'll watch it. We'll watch the highlights. This time is different and Tyson is mad. I mean, I hope it's on at 8 o'clock, but if we have to wait until 11, then, I'll be doing Palantir Weekly. So We will still be here for those that care about that show more than Paul Tyson, but I'm sure people will have both up and just have one in the background. Okay. Poll. 76% say Tyson, huh? All right, there you go. Tyson takes the cake. Or 2 cakes, in the words of Steve. Amit, will you cover Grab next time? Chris is still doing DD on that. I'm going to be talking with him soon about it. So, yes, we'll probably do a podcast on Grab and see if there's any alpha in that one, because now we have to do a lot of DD to find 2025 picks. Look, 2024 picks were pretty simple because everything went up, and also everything was recovering from a crappy 2022, kind of recovered in 2023, but then we had that fall off towards the end of the year. So like Robinhood hit $7 in November 2023. So like there were still some really good winners towards the end of the year in 2023, but 2025, it's going to be tougher to find these names. Trader says, am I the only one that thinks SMCI is a great buy right now? SMCI is a great buy if management is not cooking their books and they're going to be, and they can be audited in an ethical way and keep showing the growth. SMCI is a horrible buy if none of that stuff happens and management's lying. So it's really a risk on how much do you trust management. Like that to me is the thesis right now. That's the only thesis, because the growth is really good. Margins suck, but the growth is fine. At this valuation, the growth, obviously it's deeply undervalued given the growth. But do you trust management, right? That is the biggest question right here. AMD's down on the year. Well, AMD stock, I remember in January, bro, I was like, I don't get why this. Do you guys remember when it hit 213 in March? I remember. I got the receipts for that one. AMC down 2% for the year. I was on the market open and I was like, this is not right. AMD does not have the growth to justify this. And if you're comparing against NVIDIA, you pick NVIDIA, every single time. There's just no way you pick AMD. Yeah, AMD's down. TMDX, let me take a look at that one. I haven't looked at it in a minute. TMDX, yikes, down another 9% today. Dude, this stock was at 85 in January. It went all the way to 170. So about a little bit more than a double. And now it's up 4% for the year, down 9% on the day. I don't know why it fell today, but yeah, it's down 40% for the past month. AMD doesn't have CUDA. Yeah, that's another big thing. No CUDA on that one. Does not make it good. AMD was Wall Street pulling a bait and switch so they could get more money to buy NVIDIA. 100%, bro. Like when you look at AMD's growth metrics, long term, I'm sure they'll be fine, but like anyone, I feel like, would pick NVIDIA over AMD. There's so much more of a bigger moat. By the time AMD makes something like Blackwell, NVIDIA's going to be on to the next one. So they'll have a market for it, but they're not going to. OpenAI is not buying AMD chips over NVIDIA's chips. Like they need the best of the best. Jake Powell for the win. That'll be funny. Yeah, I think the fight will be interesting today. How many rounds is it going to have? It's gonna be 2-minute rounds, right? But how many rounds? Like 6 rounds? So it's gonna be a 12-minute fight. And how much money are they making on this thing, bro? Also, Jake Paul tweeted that Celsius is sponsoring the fight today. So you got some brand momentum for Celsius, but I wonder how many people are really going to tune into this. 8 rounds, 2 minutes each. So 16 minutes. 16 minutes, bro. People are tuning in for 16 minutes. Fights are really wild, right? Because 2 people mutually agree they're going to hype up this like artificial beef. Sometimes it's real. Most of the time it's fake. They're going to get everyone interested. And then they're hugging each other after the round because they both know they just made a shit ton of money for basically, I don't want to underplay what boxing is. But you know what I'm saying? Just basically like, it's just like hitting each other back and forth and then boom, that's it. And we're not talking about like, this is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. We're not talking about like real boxing where like it's a real competitive thing. And Jake Paul has fought against real people, but this thing obviously is more about the money grab. This is entertainment, correct? This is entertainment. It's kind of like Trump and Biden, right? Like they talked so much shit and then they were just shaking each other's hand. It's like at the end of the day, you kind of just put the politics aside and you move forward. All right. I think that is it. Have y'all ever heard of this little company out of Colorado called Palantir? Dude, where is this stock after hours? What a freaking week for this company and this year. Palantir 66.14 after hours. We'll be live on Palantir Weekly. We will discuss everything today. 65.77 close, 66.14 on Palantir. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. All right, that's it for me. Thank you everybody for being here. We'll be live for Palantir Weekly tonight. No streams on Saturday, but we'll be back for Sunday's future show. And yeah, another week in the markets. We got 2 more weeks left of November. Next week is a very big week. We've got NVIDIA on Wednesday. So we will be covering NVIDIA and then keep going from there. All right. Thank you everybody for joining the show on the morning and the close every single day this whole week. It's been a very strong week, fun week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Congrats on Palantir, everybody. And we will be back on Palantir Weekly at 11 p.m. to discuss it and go further. And then Monday, we'll be back on the Market Open, Sunday for the future show. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Good night. Bye, everyone.